My name is Tracy Allgilbers. Today is July 30th, 2014, and we are interviewing James Bauer at the Adams County Courthouse, Quincy, Illinois. James is 81 years of age, having been born on January 18th, 1933. Biographical details. Where and when were you born, James?
I was born in Quincy, Illinois, January 18, 1933, at St. Mary's Hospital.
Okay. Who are or were your parents, and what were their occupations?
My parents were Henry and Florence Bauer. My mother was a housewife. My dad was a city fireman.
Who were your siblings, names and genders, and did any serve in the military?
The oldest one is Debbie Bauer. Her name is, married name is Debbie Bauer LeBlanc, who resides in Chicago area, Downers Grove. Pam Bailey, who lives here in Quincy. Julie Anderson, who lives here in Quincy. Terry Bauer, who lives here in Quincy. Cheryl Bauer, Cheryl
Ely?
Ely, I can think of her last. Cheryl Bauer Ely. She lives in Quincy. Tom Bauer, who lives in California, and Tom has spent 4 years in the Air Force. And then there is Karen, Dave, who lives in Naperville. That's it.
Okay, and just for record, those were your grandchildren, or your children, right?
Right.
Okay, so my question is, who were your siblings? Your brothers or sisters?
My brothers, okay. My
names
brother
and
was
genders?
Jack Bauer. He served in the Navy. Francis Shifley, who lives in Springfield. And Paul Bauer, who lives here in Illinois.
And did any of them serve in the military?
Jack did. He served in the Navy, and Paul was in the Army for a while, yes.
Okay. What were you doing before you entered the service?
I was actually a student. I graduated from Gem City Business College after high school, and after that I went into active duty with the Navy Reserve, and that was on March 26, 1952.
1952? Okay. And this next section is about early days of service that I'm going to ask.
Okay.
In which branch of the military did you serve?
Navy.
What was the highest rank that you achieved?
Third class petty officer.
Did you enlist or were you drafted?
Enlisted.
If you enlisted, why did you choose that specific branch of the military?
Because I was a member of the Navy Reserve, and I always did like the Navy. I always was active around water, and the Navy just was my preference. I knew I was going to have a bed to sleep in every night. I was in the Navy, and I was going to have a meal from a table.
All righty. What happened when you departed for training camp and during your early days of training?
Well, we took the train out of West Quincy. No, I'll take that back. We took it out of Quincy, Illinois. Took the train from 2nd and Oak to Great Lakes. 3 of us from high school went the same day. Dan Ernst was one of the others, and the other one was Rich Brinkman. We were all 3 ran around together, and we all went in the Navy together.
Do you recall your instructors? If so, what were they like?
I can't recall his name. I'm sure it's in that book, but I can't recall my instructor's name at Great Lakes. Nice guy, very thorough, very knowledgeable, gave us a good training.
Okay. Did you receive any specialized training, and if so, what was that?
No, I can't say I had any specialized training. Typical United States Navy, you know. And through basic and then went through aviation storekeeper school. And that would be the only special training I had.
Okay. How did you adapt to military life, including the physical regimen, barracks, food, and social life?
I had no problem at all.
What was your job/assignment?
I was a aviation storekeeper.
Do you want to expand on what that means?
Well, basically, we were in charge of all the supplies on the base, because this was a Navy base that I was stationed on, Navy Air Base that I was stationed on, and we were in charge of all the supplies for all of the departments.
Okay. Wartime service, where did you serve?
I started basic training at Naval Station in Great Lakes. From there, I went to Norman, Oklahoma, aviation school. From there, I went to Jacksonville, Florida, Naval Air Station in Jacksonville. From there, I was assigned to Point Mugu, California, which was a Naval Air Guided Missile Station Test Center in California. A lot of security. We had an awful lot of security at that station, because all we did was test guided missiles, and believe it or not, with all the conflict that is talking today, we were testing drones.
Way back then.
Mid-50s.
If you served abroad, what are some memories that you have of that experience?
Didn't serve abroad.
All right. Were you on the front lines at all?
No.
If you were not on the front lines, what were your duties?
I was an aviation storekeeper.
Okay. What kinds of friendships and camaraderie did you form while serving, and with whom?
Well, there were a number of different guys that I became friends with. I can't say lifelong friends, but became friends with. I also probably should tell you I played football at Point Mugu, okay, and met a lot of very, very good college football players at Mugu. And we had a 10-game schedule, and I remember my coach's name. He was Captain William Harrington, and very, very good man and very, very good coach. And he, taught us the ropes of playing football. And we had a good schedule. We won a lot of games.
Okay. How did you stay in touch with family and friends back home?
Mainly letters. I didn't use the telephone that much during those days, not like they do today. Mainly letters.
Okay. What did you do for recreation or when you were off duty?
Well, Point Mugu mainly would be the place where I lived. We were 70 miles north of Hollywood and Los Angeles. I went to Hollywood a lot. Believe it or not, that I was able to sit down at a table with the late Grace Kelly and had a cup of coffee with her. A beautiful, beautiful lady, much prettier in person than she was on the screen, and a very delightful person. And I also sat with, I can't think of his name now. He was in the movie Bridges of Togaree. That's what they were making at the time. Because he was not very nice. I don't want to remember his name. You can delete that if you want.
Were you awarded any medals or citations?
I had several medals, but I can't remember really what they were. I remember the National Defense Medal. That's really about all I can remember. So I had several, but I don't remember. Nothing outstanding.
Okay. Where were you when the war ended?
Where was I? I think I was probably out of service because I was going to go to school college. And in fact, Captain Harrington got me a scholarship to Tulsa University to play football. And so I would say I was at college at the time the war ended, because they let me out early to go for the fall semester. So,
How did you return home?
trained
How were you received by your family and community?
very well, no problem at all.
How did you readjust to civilian life?
I didn't have to readjust, I was adjusting.
Have you remained in contact with or reunited with fellow veterans, and if so, who?
Well, Dan Ernst still lives there in Quincy, and I see Dan all the time. He and I went in together, and you went aboard the ship, and yes, I see him all the time. Other than that, I'm not in contact with anybody else that I served. So,
Okay. Are you a member of any veterans organizations, and if so, which?
I'm a member of the American Legion. That's it.
What have you done since separating from the military?
Well, I graduated from college and went on and got my master's degree, and I got my EDS degree, and I taught for 37 years in the state of Illinois. At 27 at the elementary, no, I'll take that back. I had 10 at the elementary and high school level, and I had 27 years of teaching at Quincy University.
This next section has to do with personal. Did you do or have something special for good luck?
No.
Did you have plenty of supplies?
Yes.
And what was the food like?
Excellent. It's the only place I ever had steak and eggs for breakfast. And that's a fact. I did in the Navy. Steak and eggs for breakfast. First time I never got that at home. Don't know if I ever had it since.
This
Good
is a
food. Good food.
This is about R&R. How did you entertain yourself?
Well, as I said earlier, we went to Los Angeles and Hollywood quite a bit, other than playing football, and was able to see a lot of different people. I bumped right into Raymond Burr, if you ever remember Raymond Burr.
I do.
Coming out of the drugstore one night in downtown Hollywood. He was looking one way, I was looking the other way, and we ran right into each other. He said, "Excuse me," and went on. I knew who he was. It was Raymond Burr. Big man. Boy, he was big. My goodness.
Were there any entertainers that came to see your units?
Well, we always had a dance on base, and they always had big name bands. And probably the biggest name band I remember was Ralph Fleming.
You okay?
Yeah, Ralph Fleming. He played a couple of dances on bass when I was out there at McGill.
Okay. What did you do when on leave?
Came home, see the family, spent some time in River City, Quincy, Illinois.
Did you travel while you were in the service?
No.
This is about discharge and post-war, this next section. Do you recall the day your service ended?
No, I can't really say that I can recall.
And where were you?
Well, I was stationed in Point Mugu, California. I came back to Quincy.
Did the war come to an end, or had you fulfilled your military service?
I had fulfilled my military service. As I said, they let me out early because they knew I was going to go to school, college. So they gave me a couple of months early.
Were others discharged with you?
I don't recall.
What did you do in the days and weeks afterward?
Went to school. Immediately went to school.
Did you resume a job, start a new career?
No, just went to school studying to graduate.
Did you use any military benefits?
Yes, GI Bill of Rights. Tremendous benefit. Oh my God. I probably wouldn't have been able to go to school without that. Not at all. $110 a month. I can remember that easy. It was a great, great benefit. Yes, GI Bill of Rights. Do they have that yet?
I believe they do.
Do they? I don't know.
I believe they do. This is about reflections. How did your military experiences affect your life?
Well, I would say it certainly makes you appreciate home life. It certainly makes you appreciate what your parents did for you. It makes you appreciate the backgrounds that you have and preps that you have for life. It was good training. I had good service. I have no qualms about it at all.
What are some life lessons you learned from military service?
Never take anything for granted. Appreciate what you have and be thankful for what the good Lord has given you. And be thankful for this wonderful, wonderful nation we live in. Great country.
How has your military service impacted your feelings about war and the military in general?
Well, I can't say that it has impacted it a lot. I just wish to God somehow, some way, we could bring peace to this world. Because it seems like, especially over in the Middle East, that we are just constantly fighting. And today, right today, who knows what's going to happen between the United States and Russia. It is really kind of scary. You really can't trust anybody else except yourself. And that's our culture. A lot of people are putting a blame on a lot of things that are happening to our president. I think that's grossly unfair. But that's the way life is. I guess, I don't know. I just hate to see what's going on right now because you just don't know what's going to happen. And that means my grandchildren, great-grandchildren, are going to have to solve a lot of the problems that were created for them, and they don't deserve that. Not at all. That's the end of my lecture.
What message would you like to leave for future generations who will view or hear this interview?
Work hard, study hard, and play hard. And if you do those three things, you'll be okay in life. And like I just said a few minutes ago, don't take anything for granted. Do whatever you can to make the earth, this life, and this world a much better place to live. And never forget the good Lord, because He's in control of everything that you have or don't have or will have. I guess that's about it.
Right. Is there anything you feel like we haven't discussed or should be added to this interview? And if so,
I think
why?
we covered most bases. I can't think of anything else.
I saw in your memory book that you had education and did some things in the education world. Do you want to expand on that just a little bit, on what you have done throughout your lifetime?
Well, as I said, I taught 10 years at the elementary and high school level here in Illinois, and then 27 years at Quincy University. I was dean of students out there for 3 years. and had a great, great educational career. I love teaching. I love getting up in the morning and going to work. And that's a lot more than a lot of people can say. So I have no regrets. I'm in good graces with the good Lord, I think, and so whenever He tells me it's time to come home, I'm ready. That's about it.
All right, is there anything else you want to say or add to your interview?
No, how'd I do?
You did well. We appreciate you coming in and doing this.
No problem.
All right, this ends this interview.